Hans is one of the newest characters in Disney Speedstorm with the addition of the brand new Frozen collection, and he is the talk of everyone right now. He's a super powerful racer with a really good unique ability, and his shards and upgrade parts are everywhere, meaning that he's super easy to level up and start taking advantage of. And in today's video, I'm going to go over how you can become a Hans master and utilize this character and reach his full potential as best as possible. So without further ado, let's get into it. To begin, let's talk about Hans's unique ability, the normal activation, the charged activation, and when you should be using either version of his skill. His unique ability is called Royal Influence, and the normal activation will make him invisible for a long period of time. And when he's invisible, you will stun the first opponent you touch, then become visible again. So pretty much what this means is when you normally press Hans's skill, he's going to become invisible to everyone except you, where he'll have this weird orange glow. Then whoever you touch first, you're going to lash your sword out and stun them, and then everyone will be able to see you again. Now just to note, the normal activation of Hans's skill does not make him immune, as opposed to someone like Randall, where when you become invisible with Randall, nothing can hit you. You can still be hit as Hans. Just because people can't see you doesn't mean they can't stun you, so you need to keep that in mind that you're still susceptible. Now his charged activation of the skill, he will order his guard to rain down arrows on every racer in front of you for a short period of time. Now this ability pretty much is useless if you're in first place, but if you're behind a bunch of people, you can charge down Hans's activation. It'll fire a volley of arrows at everyone in front of you, and hopefully you'll get some stuns off. It pretty much just covers random portions of the track with arrows. So when should you be using both versions of his skill? Well, the normal activation is pretty useful in a lot of situations. For one, if you're in first place, you always want to use the normal activation. One, because the charge doesn't do anything if you're in first place. Shooting the volley of arrows in front of you doesn't really matter if everyone is behind you. Not to mention that becoming invisible is actually a pretty nice skill in first place. It makes it a lot harder for people to stun you. Granted, you aren't immune, and so if someone like Jumba locks onto you or something like that, you're not going to be able to avoid it using Hans's skill. But if someone's trying to like aim a bomb at you or whatever, it's going to be pretty hard if they can't see you and don't exactly know where you are. So it's a pretty useful ability. Not to mention, if you touch someone while you're invisible, they get stunned, so you can kind of gatekeep. Because you're invisible, you don't know, or the opponent doesn't know where you are, but you know where they are. So if they're coming up behind you, you can kind of steer to get in their way, and then if they collide with you, you're going to lash out and stun them, and you can keep your lead going for even longer. Not to mention, Hans is a brawler, and so being able to stun people is just super useful because it charges up his boost bar. And so if you're in first place, someone sneaks up behind you, you stun them using your invisibility, you get your boost bar full, you can maintain your first place for a much longer period of time. Now his charged activation is really good if you aren't in first place and you want to get some mass stuns off. This will help you recharge your boost bar a lot because you'll be covering a lot of the field with your arrows, and you should be able to hopefully get a few stuns off. And you can use it in situations like that, especially if you're in like last place or something and trying to catch up. However, his normal activation can also be useful even if you aren't in first place, being able to like particularly stun whoever you want. You know, if there's a racer who's a serious threat to you, you can become invisible and part of the pack, try and avoid as many stuns as possible. Even though you can be stunned, again, being invisible makes it harder for people to stun you, so you can kind of slip through the crowd, and then whenever you want to stun someone, boom, you just collide with them, you lash your sword out, you get that stun off, your boost bar gets full, and you can go forward. So pretty much I prefer Hans's normal activation in most scenarios. However, the charged activation does have its place, and its ability to mass stun groups of people is not to be overlooked at all. Now let's talk about the rest of Hans's kit, all of the other common abilities that he can get. The first of the four is his primary skill. This means besides his unique ability, this is going to be the skill you get the most from skill boxes, and it stars with your star level, meaning if you're star level 1, it's going to be power 1, all the way up to 5, it'll be power 5. This is shield, which is really nice considering it is Hans's only defensive tool, and it's just really nice to get shield a lot, especially as a brawler. You know, you can use it aggressively, you can use use it defensively. You can't go wrong with shield. I really like it. And personally, I'm going to be using it defensively most of the time, just because between Hans's unique ability and all the other skills in the kit, you have plenty of offensive tools, and so shield is really, really nice on defense. Now, the other three skills that he has is fire, bomb, and rush. This is a really nice kit, and fire is another one that scales with his star level, meaning if you're star level 5, your fire will be power 5, all the way down to 1 star, it'll be power 1, the same deal as shield, except you won't be getting it quite as much from item boxes, and I really, really enjoy this kit, especially on a brawler. You have his unique skill, his fire skill, and his bomb skill all as really key aggressive tools, and you can use the shield too if you need it. However, like I said, because he has these 3 abilities already, I'm using the shield on defense mostly, but you can use these 3 abilities plus Hans's ability as a brawler to side bash into people and stun them to refill your boost bar, which is really good because you can keep his boost bar full for quite a long time, especially if you level him up and put some crew members to boost his boost skill, or his boost stat, sorry, then it can be really, really strong. And then on top of that, he has Rush, which is just always a welcome power up to have. I mean, it dashes you forward. That's always good in a racing game, right? Not to mention, Rush actually pairs really well with his unique ability Royal Influence, the normal activation. If you're invisible with the sword and you're trying to reach someone and they are just out of range and you can't quite get that stun off, Rush can be really nice for pulling off like a sneaky, ambush on them. You're behind them with your sword, you get a Rush power up, and then boom, you dash right into them and stun them with your sword. It's super satisfying to pull off, not to mention it will completely refill your boost bar, which is always welcome. And just Hans's kit, I think it works really well together and is part of why he is such a good racer, and I really, really enjoy it personally. Let's talk about Hans's stats and the crew members you are going to want to use on him. He has a really, really strong top speed, and it's part of why Hans is such a powerful racer right now. His top speed is incredible, it's one of the best in the game, and his other stats definitely reflect this imbalance. His top speed is incredible. His acceleration could use a little bit of work. His handling, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. His handling is not great. His boost is pretty good. I think he has a nice boost stat, and then his combat is kind of low for a brawler, but I think that's okay, and this creates a nice playstyle with Hans, plus all of his aggressive abilities. He has a really high top speed, which you can use the shield to protect, as well as being invisible to, keep that top speed going. Hopefully you don't get stunned. And then his low combat stat, I think, means that you're going to be wanting to stun people mostly for your own selfish benefit most of the time. You're not really trying to slow down other people as much as you're trying to keep your boost bar full, is kind of like how I like to view it. Obviously, stunning someone is stunning someone. It's always good to slow people down on the racetrack, but I think it helps to kind of get into that mindset of you want to stun people to keep your boost bar full for as long as possible, and his pretty decent boost stat definitely helps that. Now, his low handling is certainly a weakness. He's going to lose a lot of speed going around corners, and this is kind of going to reflect itself in your crew member build. Now, there's a couple crew members that I recommend for Hans. Obviously, you're going to want Citron. Citron, I believe, is how you pronounce it. This is Hans's epic crew member, his horse. It's going to boost all of his stats by a certain percentage depending on how high the level is. It's going to let you start with the boost power up, which is actually pretty nice. You can pretty consistently get a double boost. I like charging down his boost power up at the start of the race actually, and then immediately side bashing into someone. This is going to generate a lot of boost at the start of the race, and while I normally don't like starting as boost with a power up, it is pretty nice to fully charge your boost bar off of a side bash and then being able to maintain that because you charge down the boost power up with his epic crew member. So Citron is definitely someone you want to include. You always want someone's epic crew member. And now this is kind of going to depend on your personal preference, but your other crew members are going to want to boost either top speed or handling. Top speed because you can't go wrong with it. You always really want to be boosting top speed with your crew members, and it's just a great stat that you want to focus on. And Hans already has a really high top speed, so making it even better just really makes him excel. However, if you're finding that your handling is too low and that it's too hard for you to turn around corners, you're losing too much speed, and it's really negatively affecting how you play Hans, then you might want to put some handling crew members on them. So personally for me, I'm going to be running Bolda, who's going to boost my top speed and boost stats, which is definitely really good for Hans, and then it's going to be boosting the boost skill as well, which doesn't help me at all. And then the Duke of Wesselton is even more key in my opinion. He is also going to boost top speed as well as combat and the Rush power-up, which is definitely really strong. And then I'm going to run Oaken as well, who gives me top speed and a bonus to Cloak, which I don't need, but the top speed is always welcome. However, if you find that your handling is too low, you cannot go wrong with Marshmallow, who's going to boost your acceleration and handling, both stats that Hans can definitely use some work on. Or you could also find yourself running King Agnar, who's going to boost your handling and boost stat, and then give a boost to your Cloak, which is unnecessary. But handling and boost are also stats that Hans could definitely benefit from. So again, it's really up to you. Me personally, I prefer the top speed build, but if you find that your handling is too low, definitely go for the handling crew members. I don't think you'll regret it. It'll definitely help Hans out a lot. However, if you can handle the low handling stat, then boost top speed. Go all the way. That is my full racer guide for Hans though. I hope this video helps you out. If you have any other questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below and let me know which racer I should do next. Besides that, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Disney Speedstorm content, join my Discord server, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.